I'm Denise Mimmocchi. I'm the Senior Curator of Australian Art at the Art Gallery of New South Wales, and I'm saying hello to you today from the Members Lounge, the Art Gallery Society Members Lounge on Gadigal land. And it's fantastic to have this opportunity to say hello to our members virtually and to really thank them for your ongoing support during these strange times that we find ourselves in. Your support is really a very vital part of the life of the gallery, so thank you for that. In particular, I want to today thank you for your contribution to building the collection at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. The Art Gallery Society has contributed to the purchase of around 250 works over the years, and that's a really important part, ongoing role that the Art Gallery Society and you members play, so thank you for that. And through the Dagmar Halas Bequest Fund, we've purchased a really impressive groups of works over recent years, including two very important paintings by Dorrit Black, the Chinese Statuette, and Mermand and Surrounding Hills. We've bought a fabulous work by Grace Cossington-Smith, Arams Growing, and we've also bought an important work by Hilda Rix-Nicholas, Through the Trees, Toongabbie. In the cases of Dorrit Black and Hilda Rix-Nicholas, these were the first modern paintings that we bought by these artists, so it's really important that they have a presence in our gallery walls, so really important purchases that we've made. But today I'd like to welcome this new addition to the collection which comes to us through the Dagmar Halas Bequest, and I'm really thrilled to have it as part of the Australian collection, and it's by Yosl Bergner, and it's a self-portrait from 1939. Now, Yosl Bergner was born in Vienna and grew up in Poland, and he came to Australia fleeing what his family saw as the rising tide of fascism and persecution of Jewish peoples. So he arrived in 1937. He knew he wanted to be a painter, but had very little formal training at this time. He was working in factory jobs when he painted this fantastic self-portrait. The thing that immediately struck me about this work, it has such, for what was essentially at that time an untrained painter, it shows such promise, such strength, and such determination in an artistic vision. And he's painting his image as a figure who is youthful, but he's burdened, but at the same time resilient. And this becomes a really important feature of his practice in Australia as well. One of the real distinguishing features of this portrait is that accentuation of the eyes. There is so much, almost like a solidity to them. And Yosl Bergner always would think of the expression of the human soul coming through facial features. So we see a very early indication of this in his own self-portrait. Now, at the time that Bergner painted this in Melbourne, he was connecting up with a wider group of progressive young painters, including Arthur Boyd, Sidney Nolan, and Albert Tucker, and Joy Hester. And these artists really did look to Bergner as having this experience of coming from Europe, of knowing the works of the post-impressionists that they really yearned to see, for example, Cézanne and Van Gogh. But they also looked to him as this figure who had endured this plight of fascism, really, the effects of fascism, because they were really intent on redirecting their practice at this time in that struggle against the tide of fascism. So he became an important figure to this group in Melbourne at the time. Bergner would paint around the inner city streets of Fitzroy and took his subjects from that area, including Aboriginal people and families that he saw living there. And he painted them in a similar way that he's painting his self-portrait here. He realised that sort of parallel with his own situation of the politically marginalised and people who are suffering the effects of racism, but he still instilled in these subjects a great sense of resilience and humanity and dignity. One thing that really appealed to me with this portrait is that it's not just an image, a painting of an individual. It continues to speak to us as a broader symbol of displaced people as well, that against that struggle of against dehumanised forces, there is that strength of humanity that comes through, that expression of humanity that comes through in work such as this, of a figure that is burdened but also resilient. And so we do see in this something of portraiture as a kind of act of resistance, of inscribing that sense of humanity against that growing tide of dehumanisation. So once again, I'd like to thank the Art Gallery Society members for their ongoing support and contribution that they make to gallery life. I'd also like to thank Dagmar Halas, and I hope this work is seen as a great tribute to her benefaction to the gallery.